Alright guys, I'm finally back after several weeks of not posting. I had a lot going on. I had a move and a big convention and all this other things going on in my life. But I'm finally settled into the new place and I'm ready to get back to it. So today I'm going to be making some apple snickerdoodle cookies. Yes, I did just forget what I was making for a second. Lovely. Alright, so to get started, what we're going to need is 1 stick of butter, and then we're going to need granulated sugar, brown sugar, just 1 egg today, some vanilla extract, flour, cream of tartar, baking soda, 1 apple, and I'm also going to be using caramel today, and then cinnamon and sugar because snickerdoodles. So we're going to go ahead and get started. The first thing the recipe says to do, yes, I'm using a recipe today, an actual real recipe, is to grate an apple until you have half a cup, after you peel it, of course. However, I do not have a grater, so I'm going to be using a knife today. I do have a peeler, but I don't have a cheese grater, so we're going to make it work. I'm going to go wash this apple and I'll be right back. The apple is clean. Even though we're peeling it, I wanted to wash it anyways just to make sure we aren't getting anything unsanitary in our food today. So now I'm going to go ahead and start peeling this carefully. I really hate peeling things, to be honest. And I'm going to go ahead and get my half cup measuring cup so that I can see how much apple I have as I go. And I'm just going to go ahead and start peeling the apple, and then I'm gonna go back and cut it a little bit. Alright, I think that that's probably enough. Just disposing of my trash real quick. And now I'm gonna go ahead, dump this out. And I'm going to just slice it a little bit so that the chunks are not as large. This is going to be baked into the cookies, so I'm not being super precise about it. That's probably good enough. Now the next thing is you're supposed to squeeze the juices out of it. So my hands are clean, I did wash them. I'm just gonna go ahead and go over to the sink really quick and squeeze the juice out. I'm just gonna plop that back into the cup now that I've squeezed all the juice out. And I'm gonna set it to the side and go wash my hands again. And all right. I'm back and I have clean hands now. We're gonna go ahead and move on to the next step. There's little cat hairs in the air. I'm gonna go ahead and put my butter in my mixing bowl for my stand mixer. You never need to use a stand mixer. You can always do this with a hand mixer or just by hand, but a stand mixer does make it a lot easier. So we're gonna go ahead and put our 1 stick of butter in, and then we're gonna need 1/4 a cup of brown sugar and 1/4 a cup of granulated sugar. It doesn't say if the brown sugar is packed or not, so I'm just going to lightly pack it. Add that in. And then our granulated sugar. Now we're going to go ahead and put the bowl on the mixer and just mix those together really quick. Make sure you lock your mixer if you are using a stand mixer. So, next thing we're going to do is add our egg in. And I do recommend not cracking this directly into the mixer like I'm doing right now. Just don't do this unless you want to risk getting some shell in your batter, so unless you're really good at cracking eggs and you know you're not going to get any shell in, I would advise against doing that. Just mix it into, or crack it into a measuring cup or something like that. That's typically what I do, just to make sure you're not getting any shell in your batter. And then we're also going to add in our vanilla. We need 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I use the fake vanilla, so I don't ever measure mine. I just measure by eye. I have baked enough that I know what about a teaspoon is. And then we're gonna go ahead and mix those together. And if you are using a stand mixer, I recommend having your spatula handy to scrape the sides. Nothing new here. I do think that's probably good enough. And now we're gonna go ahead and mix all of our dry ingredients together in this separate bowl. You always wanna mix your dry ingredients separate and your wet ingredients separate, and then combine them when making cookies. That is a good general rule of thumb. So we're gonna go ahead and put our flour in here first, and we need 1.5 cups of flour. My half cup is preoccupied, so I'm just gonna do 1 cup and 2 1/4 cups, since my half cup is holding my apple right now. There we go, we've got 1.5 cups of flour in the bowl. Now we're going to need 1 teaspoon of cream of tartar and 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. Half teaspoon of baking soda right here. Make sure you're using the baking soda, not the baking powder. And make sure you're leveling. And then 1 teaspoon of cream of tartar. I'm just going to use the half measure again and do 2 of them. Once again, make sure you're leveling. Now I'm just going to mix them together. And then I'm going to slowly add them to my wet ingredients. There's not much here, so it shouldn't take very long. I'm just going to add it half at a time. I'm scraping down the sides of my mixer and getting the dough all right in the center. And now the next part is to go ahead and add your apple that we prepared earlier. And we're gonna just fold that into the dough. It's kind of a very similar color to the dough, so it's gonna be hard to tell. I mixed it in well because I'm a little bit blind. Now the next step is to cover the dough and put it in the refrigerator for 60 minutes. I cannot wait that long, so I'm gonna go ahead and put mine in the freezer for a shorter amount of time. Guys, I am back and my dough is chilled, and I have parchment paper on my cookie sheets as usual, and we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. I got my pre-mixed cinnamon and sugar. If you don't already have this mixture, just mix some sugar and some cinnamon together in a bowl. I always have some pre-mixed because I make snickerdoodles kind of frequently. So we're gonna go ahead and start by making some balls with the dough. I tend to do like about 1 inch in diameter. And then after each ball is rolled, you're gonna wanna just dip it in the cinnamon sugar mixture and then place it on the parchment paper. Make sure that you give each cookie a little bit of space to grow while it's baking. Also, if you've not already preheated your oven like I have, I recommend doing that now before you start rolling the cookies. And then you're just gonna keep doing that, and once your cookie sheets are full, go ahead and stick them in the oven for 9 to 11 minutes. If I'm doing 2 cookie sheets, I tend to stop halfway in between and swap the cookie sheets to the opposite rack that they were on, just to make sure it's getting it evenly in the oven. This is a new oven, I've only used it a couple times, so I'm gonna start on the lower end since I'm not sure exactly the time I did bake cookies here once so far already, and it was about the same time as my other oven, so I'm hoping this one will be pretty similar to that one since I'm used to it. And I will be right back after I bake these cookies. Alright you guys, I'm back. The last bit of cookies are in the oven now, and here is what the ones that have already been baked look like. They look really good. They smell kind of like apple pie. And now I didn't forget, I got caramel for these, changed the recipe just a little because I wanted some cookie like caramel apple flavor and I couldn't find any. So I decided to just alter this one, but I am gonna go ahead and try them without any caramel first to see how they taste and give the original recipe a chance. They're very soft, they're almost like cake. The texture is amazing. It's like a little cakier than a normal cookie, but it's still a cookie. However, I feel like these cookies don't have a ton of flavor, but maybe I just got a cookie without apple in it by chance. Let me see. I can't tell, but if I were to make these again in the future, I think that I'd probably add some sort of apple extract to bring out the apple flavor a little more. I'm gonna go ahead and add the caramel to these and see if that makes the flavor any better. I know it's gonna be kind of messy, but here we go. Just drizzling it on. Okay. I'm gonna try it again now. Kind of sad that I don't really taste the apple. The caramel definitely helps add a little more flavor. I think that these cookies would be really good if you're not a fan of super sweet things, because they're just a gentle flavor. I don't taste the apple at all. It tastes like a normal snickerdoodle, but a little cakier. And it's a little less sweet even. So if you're someone who doesn't really like sweets all that much, I'd recommend this recipe. Otherwise, it's not my favorite. I'm someone who likes flavor a lot. So if I ever make this again in the future, I'm definitely gonna add some sort of extract to it to bring out the flavor a little more because they're kind of bland. But they're not the worst thing I've ever eaten. I mean, I'm going to eat them still. They're just a little disappointing. I was excited for this recipe. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I should be uploading regularly again now that I have settled into the new place and everything. So I can't wait to see you guys again in 2 weeks. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys. Bye.